They said Egypt's secrets were all uncovered until this city was found buried under a hill. And that's just the beginning. A British archaeological team has uncovered what appears to be the ancient city of Imet, a forgotten settlement buried beneath a massive artificial hill, or tell, in Egypt's Sharqiya province. At first glance, it seems like just another late-period discovery: mud brick houses, granaries, stables, a temple to the cobra goddess Wadjet, and ritual artifacts. Dated to the 4th century BC, the site fits neatly into Egypt's historical puzzle. But then came the deeper questions. Why would such a city be entirely buried beneath meters of soil and crushed rock? The tell stretches 1.5 kilometers in circumference. That's no ordinary settlement and no ordinary burial. The buildings aren't just weathered by time. Some were smashed and crushed, with bricks strewn as if swept by a powerful force. One Ushabti figurine from the 26th dynasty was found shattered, along with a stele of Horus standing over crocodile symbols of protection. Or maybe a warning. Traditionally, tells are thought to form gradually mud brick buildings collapse over centuries, creating layered mounds. But that only explains soft sediment. How do you account for the presence of gravel, stone, and heavier material packed tightly into the site? Was it a catastrophic mudslide? A flood? A storm that buried the city in a single night? Other sites show the same strange layering even around the step pyramid of Djoser. Some researchers now believe many ancient Egyptian cities weren't just lost to time, they were suddenly and violently buried, possibly by natural disasters we still don't fully understand. LiDAR scans like those used to uncover lost Mayan cities are now revealing buried structures under these mounds, indistinguishable from natural hills. Is it possible that Emet wasn't abandoned, it was erased? Across temples and tombs in Egypt, there's something quietly strange that most tourists never notice. Perfectly round holes drilled straight into some of the hardest stones on Earth: granite, basalt, quartzite. Not chiseled, not hammered, drilled. And not in random places either. We're talking precision placement, spiral grooves, and deep cuts that suggest rotational force. At sites like Abu Rawash and the unfinished obelisk in Aswan, these strange marks appear again and again. Some of the holes are smooth as if machined. Others show spiral patterns that seem too refined for copper tools and sand. Mainstream archaeologists credit them to patient manual labor. But there's a problem: even modern steel tools would struggle to replicate this clean finish. A few engineers who examined the marks said they look identical to modern core drilling techniques, the kind used today in construction and industrial design. Which raises the big question: what tools were the ancients actually using? No electric machines have ever been found from ancient Egypt. But maybe we're not looking in the right way. If the tools were made from materials that decayed or were recycled, the evidence would be long gone. Some theorists suggest sonic or vibrational tools. Others propose lost alloys harder than bronze. Even if you don't buy into the idea of forgotten tech, one thing's hard to deny: these holes shouldn't exist the way they do. They hint at something far more advanced or lost. Walk into the Osirian temple and something instantly feels off. It's sunken deep below ground level, surrounded by water, and built from megalithic blocks far larger than what's seen in nearby structures. Massive granite stones, some weighing over 60 tons, fitted together with almost no space between them. The problem? This structure doesn't match the era it's supposed to belong to. Mainstream Egyptology places the Osirian in the reign of Seti I, around 1290 BCE, because it's located right behind Seti's temple. But look closely and the construction styles clash completely. Seti's temple is ornate, refined, and full of inscriptions. The Osirian is raw, brutal, and far older in appearance. It's like comparing an Apple store to a medieval fortress, same location, totally different eras. No inscriptions cover the Osirian's stone walls. That's highly unusual in Egypt, where nearly every surface was filled with names, prayers, and power. Here, nothing. Just massive, silent stones, weathered by time and surrounded by groundwater. Some researchers believe the Osirian predates Seti by thousands of years, that it was an ancient site reused by later pharaohs, much like the Sphinx may have been. Others go further, suggesting it belonged to an unknown civilization with knowledge of advanced engineering long before the dynasties we recognize. One thing's clear: the Osirian breaks the timeline. It doesn't fit, and in a country where almost everything is labeled and explained, this structure remains a silent enigma, hidden in plain sight. In 2012, a wooden coffin was unearthed in the Egyptian necropolis of Deir al-Barsha. Inside, faded ink and lines carved into the wood revealed something jaw-dropping, the oldest known copy of what's called the Book of Two Ways, a cryptic map of the ancient Egyptian underworld. It's not just a collection of texts or prayers, it's a literal diagram showing two winding paths, one of fire, one of water, that a soul must travel to reach the afterlife. The layout resembles a board game full of gates, obstacles, and strange guardians. Unlike the more famous Book of the Dead, this map doesn't just describe the journey, it shows it. Like an ancient GPS for the soul. The coffin belonged to a woman, but the map was once thought to be reserved for male priests. That twist alone raises questions: how many of these maps have we missed? How many were simply erased by time? What makes it even stranger is its sudden reappearance after being lost for centuries. The details match no other known artifact of its kind, suggesting that there were multiple versions, each personalized, perhaps each hiding secret knowledge passed down only to the initiated. It's part mythology, part engineering diagram, and part cosmic riddle. And it quietly hints that the Egyptians may have seen the afterlife not as an abstract concept, but as a place with a real structure, real geography, and real danger. Tucked away in rarely visited halls of the Egyptian Museum in Cairo are a handful of artifacts that don't appear in most tourist brochures' elongated skulls, with shapes that don't match the typical human form. Some are said to come from Amarna-era tombs. Others, their origins unclear. None are prominently labeled. They don't show signs of violent trauma or damage. Instead, the skulls appear naturally stretched, long, smooth, and symmetrical. Theories vary. Some say it's the result of cranial binding, an ancient cultural practice seen in other parts of the world. But not everyone's convinced. Amarna was home to some of Egypt's strangest art portraits of Akhenaten and his family, with almond eyes, thin limbs, and oddly shaped heads. Critics said it was symbolic, but if these skulls match those portraits, what were the artists really trying to depict? The museum doesn't advertise these skulls, and only a few researchers have been allowed to study them closely. Are they simply rare examples of ritual deformation, or physical traits of a now extinct noble bloodline? In the end, it's not just about the bones themselves, it's the silence surrounding them. The fact that such unusual specimens exist but are kept on the fringes adds a whole new layer of mystery to Egypt's royal past. Beneath the towering presence of the Great Sphinx, there are rumors of a secret chamber, one that some people believe could totally change everything we know about human history. Known as the Hall of Records, this mysterious vault is said to contain scrolls, artifacts, and, well, even technology from a forgotten civilization that came long before the pharaohs. The idea isn't exactly new. It gained worldwide attention when the mystic Edgar Cayce claimed the Sphinx guarded a library of knowledge hidden beneath its paws. At the time, it honestly sounded like pure fantasy. But later, ground-penetrating radar studies did reveal anomalies beneath the Sphinx's body rectangular voids that haven't yet been fully explored. Officially, there's no chamber. Excavations haven't confirmed anything significant. But questions remain. Why do older photos show sealed doorways and masonry lines near the Sphinx's base? Why were some early expeditions to the area halted or locked behind restricted access? Some researchers believe the chamber, if it exists, could predate dynastic Egypt by thousands of years. The Giza Plateau may have been selected not because of its geography, but because of what lay buried beneath it. And then there's the Osiris Shaft, a multi-level tunnel system located just steps from the Sphinx. It descends more than 90 feet into the bedrock, ending in a water-filled cavity containing a black basalt sarcophagus. No one knows what's below it. No one knows what it was really for. All signs point downward, whether it's an ancient time capsule, a burial chamber, or something else entirely. The vault below Giza continues to draw attention, not because of what we've found, but because of what we haven't been allowed to. A strange image once circulated online of pyramids surrounded by scaffolding, with its top seemingly being assembled before the base was completed. At first, everyone thought it was just a clever digital rendering, a twist on how we usually think about ancient construction. But that image tapped into something deeper, an idea that's been quietly gaining traction. What if the Great Pyramid wasn't built the way we think? The standard theory involves ramps, thousands of workers, decades of hauling multi-ton blocks. It's dramatic, sure, but the logistics raise some serious questions. There's no clear evidence of a ramp large enough to support that kind of project. And the precision. The pyramid's orientation is nearly perfect to true north, something even modern builders would have to carefully calculate. Some alternative researchers believe the pyramids weren't built from the ground up, but rather assembled using a lost method, possibly with cast stone technology or tools we no longer understand. There's even a fringe theory suggesting geopolymer science, basically, stone poured into molds. Sounds wild, but studies on the microstructure of some blocks have hinted at the possibility. And if that's true, the entire concept of pyramid construction flips upside down literally. What if those massive limestone blocks weren't hauled at all? What if the ancients had a way to pour and shape stone like advanced three-dimensional printing with ancient chemistry? It would explain the fit, the speed, and the finish. Maybe that viral image wasn't a fantasy. Maybe it was a clue. Tutankhamun's tomb is small compared to other royal burials. For a pharaoh who ruled during a golden age, it seems rushed, almost temporary. That alone raised eyebrows. But in 2015, something extraordinary happened. Radar scans of the tomb's north wall revealed something unexpected, a hidden void, a space that didn't show on any maps. Some experts believe it's an untouched chamber, possibly part of a larger burial complex. One theory quickly took over headlines that this room could hold the long-lost tomb of Queen Nefertiti. Nefertiti, Akhenaten's powerful and mysterious wife, vanished from the records late in her life. No confirmed burial has ever been found. Some believe she may have ruled Egypt under a different name. Others think her tomb was hidden, deliberately sealed away to protect her legacy. What's strange is how the discovery stalled. After initial enthusiasm, all talk of excavating the chamber quieted down. Access was denied. The scans were questioned. The wall was left untouched. But the clues are everywhere. The layout of Tutankhamun's tomb mirrors that of a queen's. The decorative patterns stop abruptly at the very wall where the chamber is believed to be. It's as if someone plastered over a passage and hoped no one would notice. So far, no one's broken through the wall, not publicly at least. But if Nefertiti lies behind that golden barrier untouched, unspoiled, it could be the most important archaeological find in modern history. And it might be right behind the paint. Back in 2014, deep in the sands of Abydos, a discovery sent, quiet shockwaves through the world of archaeology. A tomb was found not belonging to any famous ruler, but to someone most folks had never even heard of, Pharaoh Senebkay. Up until that moment, he didn't show up in any king list. No monuments, no legacy, just silence. The burial chamber itself was pretty modest. The sarcophagus had been looted way back in antiquity, and a lot of the bones were just scattered around. But the inscriptions? They were clear Senebkay had ruled. And not just by himself, he seemed to be part of a totally unknown royal line, which we now call the Abydos dynasty. Turns out Egypt's history had a missing chapter. Senebkay's burial revealed more than just a forgotten name. It exposed a time of political chaos when local kings ruled in isolation while the central government was just, falling apart. His cartouche, which was carved into a reused sarcophagus lid from another pharaoh, really suggested desperation. A dynasty cut off from resources but still hanging on to tradition. Honestly, it's kind of like finding an unlisted king in a sealed vault, hidden from the spotlight for thousands of years. And the wild thing is, he wasn't alone. Excavations since then have uncovered several other burials that hint at a shadow dynasty, quietly governing while the rest of Egypt was in total turmoil. Makes you wonder how many more rulers were erased from the official timeline? And what else is just waiting beneath the sand? Unsigned and unknown. So, Herodotus once described something he called the labyrinth of Hawara, and he said it was greater than all the pyramids combined. A sprawling maze with, get this, 3,000 rooms half above ground, half below. He claimed he saw it with his own eyes. For centuries, people just dismissed the whole thing as an exaggeration. I mean, nothing of that scale had ever been found near the Fayum Oasis. But then, modern surveys, satellite imagery, and ground-penetrating radar changed the game. They revealed something massive just beneath the surface, a whole grid of solid structures and voids, way bigger than any nearby ruins. Parts of the surface structure were destroyed ages ago, probably used as quarries. But underground, it's still there. Researchers now think the maze was part of a funerary complex built by Pharaoh Amenemhat III. Some folks even speculate it was a kind of ancient data vault holding scrolls, artifacts, or maybe even maps we haven't uncovered yet. The scale is just staggering, and the layout, based on what little has been mapped, doesn't really follow any typical temple design. It's more like, I don't know, an ancient hard drive, corridors, sealed chambers, hidden compartments. It was clearly designed to confuse and protect. Despite all this, excavations have slowed down. The area is still mostly untouched. If the labyrinth exists as described, it's honestly one of the largest unexplored structures in the ancient world. And it's buried, just waiting. Right beneath the dust of history, Egypt might be hiding its greatest monument. Alright, so everyone knows the Great Sphinx, but not many people realize just how many mysteries are tucked inside and underneath it. Over the past century, explorers, engineers, and even national authorities have documented sealed shafts, empty chambers, and stone blocks that really hint at deeper passageways. The most famous is probably the so-called door beneath the Sphinx's paws. It's this rectangular cavity, documented in old photos from the 1920s and checked out again during later surveys. It was covered up, then sealed. What's behind it? Nobody really knows. Officially, it's just natural, unimportant. But honestly, the structure looks carved, not shaped by erosion. Multiple seismic surveys have picked up hollow spaces beneath the Sphinx. Not just cracks or sinkholes, we're talking geometric voids. Some folks believe they could lead to a chamber or maybe even a stairwell beneath the monument. Yet, despite all the interest and potential, no formal excavation has ever gone through those layers. And it's not just under the paws either. There's a shaft at the rear of the Sphinx that leads right into the body itself, a passage that was filled in a long time ago. Was it a tomb, a ritual chamber, or heck, something totally different? The Sphinx doesn't offer any answers, just silence. Towering over Giza with its missing nose and that gaze fixed forward, it's been guarding its secrets for thousands of years. And if those doors are ever opened, maybe, just maybe, we'll finally learn why it was placed there to begin with. Beneath the sands of Saqqara, there's a tunnel complex that feels more like a science fiction set than an ancient tomb. It's called the Serapeum, and what's inside continues to puzzle engineers, archaeologists, and honestly, just about anyone who sees it up close. Carved into solid limestone, the passages lead to a series of side chambers. Each one holds a massive stone box, over 20 of them, made of solid granite or diorite. Some of these sarcophagi weigh over 70 tons, with lids alone weighing 30. And they weren't just dumped in, you know? They were placed with precision, inside tight enclosures with barely an inch of clearance on all sides. The official explanation? These were burial vaults for the sacred Apis bulls, animals worshipped in the ancient Egyptian religion. But if that's true, the construction seems strangely excessive. Why use the hardest materials available transported from quarries hundreds of miles away just to entomb livestock? The boxes themselves are cut with such perfection that modern stonemasons struggle to explain it. The inner corners are razor sharp. The surfaces are polished smooth. One engineer described the finish as machined. These weren't rough-hewn tombs, they were deliberate, advanced, and designed to last forever. Some speculate that the Serapeum wasn't built for bulls at all, that it may have served another purpose entirely, a kind of vault, an energy containment system, or something ceremonial we no longer understand. And then there's the acoustics. In the silent dark, any sound bounces and vibrates in strange, unnatural ways. Some researchers claim the space feels engineered for resonance. Whatever the truth is, the Serapeum doesn't follow the rules of ordinary tombs. It sits in the dark, cold and still, just waiting for someone to figure out what it was really built for. High on the ceiling of a side chamber in the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, there's a carving that doesn't look like anything else in Egyptian art. It shows a shape like a long, curved bulb, with what appears to be a snake or filament inside. At the base is a lotus flower, and behind it, a human figure holding what looks like a cable or rod. To some, it looks unmistakably modern, like a light bulb connected to a power source. This carving, often called the Dendera light, has sparked debate for decades. Traditional scholars interpret it symbolically. The snake represents energy or rebirth, and the lotus symbolizes creation. But others see something more literal. Could this be a memory or depiction of ancient electrical knowledge? Of course, no wires, batteries, or sockets have ever been found in Egypt, but there's something unusual about this part of the temple. The chamber is deep inside, with no windows. And in many places like this across Egypt, black soot from torches is strangely absent from the ceilings. So how did they illuminate the walls while carving? Some researchers point to the Baghdad battery, a real artifact found in Iraq, that may have been capable of generating a small electric charge. Others believe ancient Egyptians experimented with simple electrochemical tools long before the modern concept of electricity existed. Could it be symbolic? Sure, but then why does it look so similar to something we invented thousands of years later? The Dendera temple holds many mysteries, but this single carving overlooked by most continues to raise the possibility that the past was far more advanced than we ever imagined. In the Temple of Seti I at Abydos, carved high on a beam above a doorway, is a set of symbols that shouldn't exist. To the untrained eye, they look astonishingly familiar, a shape resembling a helicopter, another like a modern jet, and even one that some say looks like a hovercraft. These carvings are now famous online as the Abydos helicopter glyphs. At first glance, it's tempting to jump to wild conclusions. Time travel? Ancient visitors with flying machines? Did someone carve futuristic shapes into a temple over 3,000 years ago? The official explanation is far more grounded. Egyptologists say the carvings are the result of palimpsest, a kind of ancient inscription layering. First, hieroglyphs from Seti I's reign were carved into the beam. Years later, under his son Ramses II, the stone was recarved with new symbols. Over time, as plaster eroded, the two sets of glyphs overlapped in strange ways, accidentally creating shapes that resemble modern aircraft. But here's the twist: these shapes don't appear anywhere else in the temple. And they're placed high up, well above eye level, not something you'd casually scratch in. Maybe it is coincidence. Or maybe, just maybe, it's another case where something from the past looks a little too much like something from our future. And that's why people keep staring at that stone, not for answers, but because it asks the right kind of questions. On the surface, the Black Pyramid at Dashur looks like a failure. Its sides are sunken, its structure crumbling. Made of mud brick with only a limestone casing, it was once a towering symbol of the Middle Kingdom. Now it resembles a weathered hill. But what's underneath may be far more impressive than what's above. Built by Pharaoh Amenemhat III, the Black Pyramid was one of the first royal tombs designed with multiple internal chambers, decoy rooms, and a dual burial system for the king and his queens. Its interior is a maze of corridors, blocked passages, and hidden compartments engineered with traps and misdirection to protect something deeper inside. Even in its ruined state, the architecture inside has advanced a sharp contrast to its outer decay. Some sections were reinforced with wood, copper, and stone in complex ways. And at the center lies a large, sealed core, a structure few have entered, and even fewer have studied fully. The Black Pyramid might look broken, but it still holds its secrets buried in the dark, waiting for someone to solve the riddle from within. That's about it. Which Egypt mystery scared you the most? Write in the comments. For more useful information, watch other videos.